Hey everyone, let's get ready to enjoy chapter 4 called The Dolls at School. So if we remember from the last three chapters, Annabelle and Tiffany got in the backpack by accident of whose backpack were they in? Were they in Kate's or they were in Nora's? Think about it. They were in Kate's, and Kate took them to school, and then when Kate was in school, they got out of the backpack and are sitting on the ledge in the school, and they're deciding, should they go explore or should they not go to explore? And you know Tiffany, brave Tiffany, willing to do anything, she wants to go. And Annabelle's a little bit nervous. She's not sure if she should do that. But then she's thinking, all right, let's go. So now the big problem is, how do they get down from that top shelf? So I'm going to show you the picture again. And I asked you on Seesaw, if you were them, how would you get down? So here they are up top there. What do you think they're going to do? And then a bigger problem is, if you get back down, how on earth are you going to get back up? Let's see what they decide to do. As Annabelle sat on the edge of the shelf, it looked down at the floor, she decided that possibly this was the most afraid she's ever been. Think about the time you're afraid. You get those feelings. Think about what kind of zone you're in. Red, yellow, green, blue zone. Definitely not the green. I know you could be in the red zone or you could be blue, really, really quiet. She was more afraid than when the captain, the Palmer's cat, had snatched Papa Doll and run away with him. After that, the captain had been banished to the first floor of the house. She was more afraid than when she and Tiffany, during their hunt for Papa, had decided to search the captain's bed. And she was more afraid than when, 6 decades ago, and she was more afraid than when, decades ago, Grandma Catherine, 6 years old, had painted Annabelle's hairs green. Annabelle's hair was still green, which Annabelle didn't mind, but she had been terribly concerned that green hair might be a cause for doll state. Apparently it wasn't, but one never knew. Come on, Annabelle, said Tiffany. She'd already slid halfway down one of the straps of the backpack, and now her dangling feet hovered just an inch or so above Kate's coat. Let me help you. No, said Annabelle quickly. I can do it myself. And she did. Annabelle didn't give herself time to think about what she was going to do. She didn't look down either. She fixed her eyes on the school ceiling, gripped the strap, and hand over hand, worked her way down towards the end. You did it, cried Tiffany. Now let go and you'll land on the coat. Annabelle squeezed her eyes shut, and she let go. What do you think happened? She felt the collar of Kate's coat beneath her. Good, said Tiffany. Now, we just crawl down the coat. Here you go. You can grab on to the buttons. And in no time, Annabelle and Tiffany had reached the bottom of Kate's coat. And they were almost a foot above the floor. Ready? Drop, said Tiffany. And she dropped and she landed with a thump. And here's a picture of them getting ready, climbing down the backpack. So you can see here's the strap of the backpack. And it got them right here to the edge of the coat. But now they're going to get to the edge of the coat. And Tiffany can jump down, sure, no problem. But as we all know, can Annabelle jump down? That's a big problem. Let's see what happens. I can't drop, exclaimed Annabelle, finally looking down. I'll break when I land. Remember what happened when we were rescuing Papa and he had to jump to the floor? He broke his leg. Plus, how are we going to get back up? Did you think of that? When Annabelle was scared, she was cranky. Tiffany glanced around. She spied a scarf lying on the floor nearby. So spied means like she found it. Did you ever play I Spy? So she spied with her eye a scarf. Okay, land on this, she said. She dragged the scarf underneath Annabelle and heaped it to a little mountain. We can use it again later to climb up Kate's coat. That's if it's still there. Annabelle muttered, but she dropped and she landed safely, and then she slithered to the floor. So, good idea. They're down. Safe and sound so far. Sorry, the iPad's falling down. Keeps on slipping. Here we go. See, that's a little bit better. Tiffany looked at her hopefully. Okay, this is great, admitted Annabelle. She looked all the way up the hall in one direction and all the way down the hall in the other. School. Tiffany, can you believe it? Tiffany grinned. What should we do first? Let's find Kate's classroom, said Annabelle. Maybe we can hide somewhere and watch Kate and her friends and see what they do all day. Yeah, maybe we'll even learn something. Nanny would approve of that. There are so many doors, though, said Annabelle, one after another. They must be doors to classrooms. But how do we know which class is Kate's? Tiffany thought for a moment. We don't, she said, but we will follow. SELMP, the Society and Exploration for Missing Persons. Right? Society and Exploration. Oh, here it is. She and Tiffany had formed SELMP, the Society for Exploration and Location of Missing Persons, shortly after Papa had disappeared in the jaws of Captain. So Society and Exploration and the Location of Missing Persons. That's what SELMP stands for. And then they had found Auntie Sarah in the attic where she had been trapped for so long. But after that, Annabelle and Tiffany had much use for SELMP. Perfect, cried Annabelle. If ever proper exploration was needed, now is it. We'll investigate each classroom as we come to it, said Tiffany. If we see Kate inside, we'll look for a hiding place. If we don't see her, we'll move on to the next room. Now think of second grade hallway at Jarrick School, how long it is from our room all the way down the hallway as if before we get to the stairs when we go down. That's a lot. How are they going to walk through the hallways and not be seen? Remember, they're little dolls like this. But what if someone's walking out to go to the bathroom? Like imagine that. If you walked out and all of a sudden you see this little doll like running across the floor. Well, you'd probably think it was a mouse at first, right? But imagine, they're really brave. So here they go. While we're in the hallway, we should stay close to the walls. There are plenty of boots and things to hide if someone comes by. Oh yeah, that's right. In their hallway, they have all those coats and those cubbies lined up so they could like tuck away and hide. We don't have that at Jarrick School. The nearest door was just a few feet away from where Annabelle and Tiffany had landed. They crept by shoes and boots and book bags and backpacks. When they reached the door, they peered around the corner. Wow! Annabelle started to say, but Tiffany poked her and held her finger to her lips. And here's a picture of them at the doorway, poking their head around the corner. Through the years, as Annabelle had listened to bedtime stories read to Kate and Annie and Catherine and Gertrude, she had heard lots of descriptions of classrooms. She expected to see a wooden desk for the teacher at the front of the room, a blackboard behind it, and 20 or 30 student desks arranged in neat rows. What she saw in this room was a teacher's desk, just as she had imagined, but the board behind it was green, and the desks for the students were grouped together in 4 or 5 or 6 at a table to make a table. And all around the room were so many other things that Annabelle gasped as she tried to take them all in. There were posters and drawings, charts, maps on the wall, an aquarium of fish, a cage labeled Ethel had a guinea pig inside, a cage named Echo with a parakeet inside, books, 3 beanbag chairs, displays and art projects, a xylophone, plants and pots, board games, and a jar full of pennies. Annabelle looked for so long at the things in the room that she almost forgot to look for Kate, and she jumped when she and Tiffany had to pull back into the hallway. I didn't see her. I didn't either, said Annabelle. Then she said, school kind of looks like fun. Tiffany nodded. I feel sorry for Ethel, though. I wonder how she lost her tail. I've never seen a kitten without a tail. Ethel's a guinea pig, Tiffany. That's a pig? Well, it's not like a pig on a farm. A guinea pig, never mind. I'll just explain to you later. Come on. Annabelle and Tiffany scurried down the hall to the next door and they peeked inside. This classroom looked much like the last one, but the students were older. Kate was not among them, though. Okay, next room. said Tiffany. The girls ran ahead, but they came to a stop when the hall suddenly widened. They saw a tall window on one side and a closed door on the other, and this big plaque on the wall. So a plaque is almost like a picture, but a plaque, it's like a saying of what it is. So here's their plaque at school, and I'll read it and then I'll show you. It says, friendship, respect, trust, responsibility, kindness. We are proud of our school. So that's the plaque. So it's a picture, but it doesn't have words and doesn't have a picture. It actually has words. So I'm thinking this is kind of like our JARC school motto, be kind, treat each other nicely, that this is what they're talking about, that they're proud to be in part of this school, and these are the things of how they should act and be. What is this place? Asked Tiffany. Oh, I think it's the lobby, replied Annabelle. Now, where? Now there's nowhere to hide. But there are classrooms on the other side. Ahead, I can hear voices. What shall we do? So let's think about this. Pretend if you close your eyes and you're in the lobby at our school, which would be on the first floor, not on the second floor. It's where everybody walks in. That's a pretty big area. You have all those double doors, and you have to get, if you're on one side of the lobby, like it's like when we go at indoor recess time when we walk across, and we have to get across there through the lobby to get to the cafeteria for lunch. That's a big distance that they have to travel. And there's nothing for them to hide behind. Wonder what they're going to do. What should we do? Annabelle felt brave. Run for it, she cried. So the girls plunged through the lobby, relieved that the walls of the coat hooks and shelves were then on the other side. They passed an open door with the words lost and found printed on it. Remember when Kate lost her sneakers and then she found them in the lost and found? Asked Annabelle. I guess this is where they were. Annabelle's eyed the enormous bin with brimming over with hats and jackets, shoes, books, toys. I don't know how anybody would find anything in here, she thought. It's kind of like ours. We had this lost and found. All these things were lost, but I'm not sure if anybody ever found anything in it. Would help to be taller, said Tiffany. No one was in the hall, so the girls continued running until they came to a classroom door. They had barely peeked inside when Annabelle gasped. She grabbed Tiffany and pulled her behind the boots. What? Exclaimed Tiffany. Nora, didn't you see her? She was playing right by the door. This must be one of the kindergarten classrooms. We don't want Nora to see us at school. I think we should go back through the lobby to the other side, to the part of school. That's where the older kids are. Okay, but let's just check this room across the hall before we go back, just to make sure. All right. So Annabelle and Tiffany were peeping into other classrooms when Annabelle heard voices and footsteps in the hall. She looked over her shoulder. 2 grown-up humans were just in the doorway, inches away, and this time there were no boots nearby. In a panic, Annabelle pushed Tiffany inside the classroom, and the girls scurried to the bottom of the bookcase. And a moment later, 4 feet stepped into this classroom. Wow, I never heard them coming, whispered Tiffany. Me neither. We're going to have to be much more careful. Annabelle peered around the classroom. I'm pretty sure this is another kindergarten. The kids in this room looked about Nora's age. There were no desks except for the teachers. And instead, at one end of the room were long tables with small chairs. From the other tables scattered about the room, there were signs that said, Our bean plants. How many is 100? Build your own city. Cooking time. And meet our goldfish. In the corner of the room was a mountain of blocks. And not from Annabelle and Tiffany was a wooden stove, a wooden sink, a box of dress-up clothes, a dollhouse, and quite a few dolls, large and small. Good guess. Definitely a kindergarten room. Tiffany, whispered Annabelle, you don't suppose those dolls are alive? Tiffany whispered back. Oh, I hope not. Most of the dolls were not properly dressed. One had been shoved headfirst into a sink. Another girl and boy were playing with 2 other dolls in a way that looked uncivilized to Annabelle. How are we going to get out of here? Annabelle asked. She turned her attention back to the adults nearby. As soon as the grown-ups leave, we'll leave too, said Tiffany. Okay. Annabelle crept between 2 books and settled down in to watch the feet. She was about to tell Tiffany to hide when she heard a shout. Hey! Hey! Cried a girl. Look, Henry! I see a new doll. In a flash, a hand reached for the shelf and whisked Tiffany into the air. Annabelle slid further back behind the books. She didn't let Tiffany out of her sight, though. Jenna, can I play with it? Asked Henry. It, thought Annabelle. No, I saw it. I want to play with it first. Then you can have a turn. And as Annabelle watched, Jenna carried Tiffany to a small rocking chair and plopped her down in it. She reached for a baby bonnet. And then, as Jenna untied the ribbons of the bonnet, Annabelle saw Tiffany pinch Jenna's arm. And here's a picture. This must be Jenna's hand going to the bookshelf to where Tiffany was and picking her up. And now she's pinched her. Annabelle's eyes widened as Jenna dropped Tiffany and stared at her, but then she shouted, Henry! Annabelle sighed and looked at the clock on the wall. 9:30. Doll state lasts for 24 hours. Tiffany was going to be stuck here at school in doll state until 9:30 the next morning. Should Annabelle stay away? Should Annabelle stay with her? She should try to go home by herself. From her spot on the floor, Tiffany gave Annabelle a teeny wave. She wasn't in doll state after all. Annabelle let out a great breath. All right, Tiffany was lucky, just plain lucky, but she had better be careful. For the rest of the morning, Annabelle watched as Henry pushed Tiffany across the floor in a plastic school bus, as the two girls put Tiffany to bed in the dollhouse, and as a boy tucked Tiffany in his pocket and read a book to her. And finally, as a girl with lots and lots of braids in her hair grabbed Tiffany and exclaimed, My dolly! All the while, Annabelle tried to think of something to do. At 11:20, a bell rang, and moments later, the children in the room were lining up at the door. Goodbye, said the teacher. Remember that tomorrow is show and share day. Annabelle had stood up and moved to the front of the shelf again. She peered between the books, and she saw the girl with the braids clutching Tiffany in her hand. Goodbye, Miss Eckerd, said the girl. Goodbye, replied Mrs. Eckerd. And then she spied Tiffany. Sophie, you know that toys have to stay in our classroom. Please leave the doll here. You can play with her tomorrow. Annabelle watched as Sophie ran to the dollhouse and tossed Tiffany inside, then joined the end of the line, and the kids marched into the hallway. A minute later, the classroom was empty, except for Mrs. Eckerd. Tiffany was lying on her back in the dollhouse. She looked miles from Annabelle. Mrs. Eckerd sat at her desk and wrote in a notebook. Annabelle wished she would leave the classroom, but she did not. And after a few more minutes, another bell rang, and soon the room was full of more the afternoon kindergartners. For the next several hours, Annabelle stayed in her hiding place and kept her eye on Tiffany. The afternoon kindergartners found out almost immediately and played with her as the morning kindergartner has. When the last bell of the day rang at 2:40, the children left the room, and Mrs. Eckerd left with them. Annabelle waited until the room had been quiet for all of 5 minutes. Then she approached Tiffany, who was sitting on a blanket by the floor in the dollhouse. For a moment, the girls stared at one another. Finally, Annabelle said, School's over. Kate has gone home by now. I know, replied Tiffany. Annabelle wanted to cry. So now they're not going to get home, but this could kind of be exciting. Think about, what if Annabelle and Tiffany, they're left in school. You know, when we go home at school at night, the only people left are the custodians, and they're only there for a few hours, and then they leave, and the whole school's empty. If you were Annabelle or Tiffany, or even if you were you and a doll in there, what kind of adventure? You could have so much fun. On Seesaw, I want you to, either you can draw or write me, what would you do? What kind of excursions? Imagine you were locked in school. What would you like to do when you're left there all by yourself? Just you and a friend. I think that'd be kind of cool, actually. So write on Seesaw what you think, what exploration you would like to do while you're there, because they're stuck there no matter what. They can't go home. And tomorrow, I will read for you Chapter 5, Ms. Feldman Rules. So we'll see what that has in store for us. Happy Monday. Remember, take care of yourself. Be safe. Stay inside. Unless it's nice, go out for walks. Wash your hands. Be careful, but enjoy yourself. And remember, I'm here. Send me messages on Seesaw, or you can email me. Let me know and I'll always write back. I love some pictures that I've been getting of you people. It's Kyla was playing outside. I got a picture of Tiana outside. I got a picture from Samantha. Lots of different things. So if you can, send me some stuff. I love to see them. Miss you guys. Bye-bye.